Well, Les, amazing interview today. Robbie Williams, what do you think?
Well, it's an exclusive for Truth Proof, and it should be fantastic.
Couldn't agree more, sharing his experiences and his views on unexplained phenomena. So, Robbie, Mick Park, welcome to Truth Proof.
Hello.
It's great to be talking to you both, as we've shared interest in the unexplained. So we're not going to talk about music or go down a long list of accolades or anything like that. We're just going to get straight to it. So,
Great.
Unexplained phenomena, question to you both. Where did this interest come from? Did you have a wow moment? Has it always been there? Mick, Robbie?
Yeah, Mick, can you tell me?
About you?
No, about you, where the interest came from.
I've always liked it. I even back when I was a child, Space 1999, all that kind of UFO, Joe 90, all that kind of childhood, TV programs that were so prolific back in those days. And I've loved always like that. And I've managed to get hold of some books about ghosts and hauntings and those haunted places in the UK. And then obviously it led on to UFOs and all that. And then, like yourself, Rob, I travelled a lot. And, you pick up on different things. Like people would say, you go to some certain place and you go, I'd always be the one that would say, have you ever seen a UFO here? Or, you like kind of thing. Oh, I wouldn't be interested in the gig. It'd be that kind of thing, the strange forest or some strange...
Did you live in a house where... I don't know, your parents, your mum, your dad, whatever, were they open to this kind of stuff?
No, God, no. My mum.
What about grandparents?
Not really. My mum was a strict Catholic. My dad was Scottish. He sort of poo-pooed it all. But we lived in a haunted house.
Okay.
Child. And I was always terrified of the attic room where my sisters lived. They lived up there. They basically stayed there all the time. And I just one of those rooms when you went into there and it just had a different vibe and atmosphere.
But did apart from the atmosphere, did it manifest itself in any other way than a creepy feeling?
There was just one occasion I was sharing a bed with my little brother, and we were staying in that room for whatever reason. I think we had some people staying, and the door opened on its own. And when I say freaked me out, I literally leapt out of bed, ran down the stairs through whatever it was, and I slept on my mum and dad's floor. That's how scared I was.
Yeah, the actual feeling of terror because of imagined stuff, real stuff when you're a kid is actually traumatic. And there is, it's felt a lot, whether it's imagined or whether it's real. Most days you are in some sort of trauma because of some sort of real or imagined thing that's going on in your house. I'm only just realizing now what you're saying now is there must be PTSD from that, of course, as well.
Without a doubt. And I would think that there'll be a lot of people echoing what you've just said and what Mick's just said. And I went through it myself in childhood. And are you similar things? Have you got similar memories yourself then, Rob?
It's exactly like Mick's just said, but mixed with also that my mum was very open to this sort of stuff. And my grandma was very open to this kind of stuff. And so was my dad, really. He's online at the moment looking up Bigfoot videos. Right. And I've got a very clear memory, and I must have been about 8 or 9. And I can remember the front cover of the book. And I was at my grandma's, and there was this front cover of the book, and it was UFOs over London. And I was like, oh, my God, this might be real. Oh, okay. I tell you the thing, because you started off, Mick, with talking about TV shows, and to the uninitiated, people that aren't into this kind of stuff, it would feel like, and I'm gonna justify this by telling you about my TV show that had a massive effect on me. It would be, to the uninitiated that aren't into this stuff, it would feel like we fabricated it from imagination, watching Star Trek or whatever it was at the time, Joe 90. The thing that absolutely blew my mind was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
When the aliens turn up and go, we're getting rid of your planet now, soz.
Yeah.
There was just and I would be, I don't know when that would be. It'd be like 1981 or 1982. I was born in 1974. So I'm watching this as a 9-year-old going, oh my God, that's actually possible. So
it could happen.
These things became real. There was a little bookshelf that my mum's got of folklore and myths, and and my mum read tarot cards and all of the above. So there was some sort of cosmic acceptance that this whole thing may be reality and not just created in your mind.
Yeah, so there was obviously some source already there, wasn't there? I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Arthur C. Clarke?
Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. Yeah.
So I remember watching that, and it was all around the world. These fantastic places. I remember seeing Easter Island. And I was thinking, oh my God.
But yeah, mind blowing. But there's like two things that are interesting from the 80s that are like, well, I guess they must have sorted out spontaneous human combustion because nobody mentions it anymore. You know what I mean? And because like spontaneous human combustion was like massive in the 80s for people that was interested in this sort of stuff. And the other thing that was obviously massive in the 80s but isn't now is the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
So both of those things must have been sorted out.
The big thing is the Alaska Triangle as well. That gets mentioned quite a lot now. With this kind
now, but it didn't end. But the interesting thing was for me, I had a girlfriend whose uncle died of spontaneous human combustion. It's not funny. It's obviously not funny, setting yourself on fire without, giving yourself permission to set yourself on fire. But it's fascinating how there are certain things at certain times that come and now are not talked about.
Yeah. And it's fascinating that certain things now are becoming more acceptable. But were they a pivotal moment, Mick and Rob, when you thought, obviously we believe in this, we've seen the TV programs, childhood kind of fears in dark rooms, like Mick's just said, the attic room. But were they a pivotal moment when you thought, yeah, this is real, I've experienced this now, and it's not just a feeling?
Well, I suppose the greatest hits for me of paranormal activity, there have been many that I've forgotten, due to drugs, due to drugs and having a really poor memory. But because I've repeated these stories so many times, I'll tell you this. For some reason, I feel closer to the woo-woo in Los Angeles than I do in England.
Right.
There is. I had a house that in Wiltshire, the grounds and the house was 1,000 years old, and you would think that I would be inundated with spectre and doors slamming or blah blah. Other people experienced it. I didn't. It's not until I go to Los Angeles where I live or lived for a while that I'm like, it's like vortexes here. It's a very, very strange land, Los Angeles. Anyway, the reason I say this is to set up what I'm about to say. which is in 2006, I decided that I'd retired. And, everything got too much. Everything went into the computer and just, there was an overload. So I told myself I'd retired, and I had to believe it to give myself opportunity to regroup and come back. But then I knew that I needed to do something or else I'd have no purpose. And it's weird that you mentioned Arthur C. Clarke, because my thought was, I'll do an Arthur C. Clarke thing where, I'll just report on the weird and wonderful from around the world, and that'll be my new job, and I'll be happy doing that. And at the same time, as ridiculous as this seems to the uninitiated, there was a bookstore called the Bodhi Tree in Los Angeles that had all, the esoteric information and the secrets of the universe within its walls. It's gone now because, Amazon, I guess, but it was a beautiful store with beautiful books and trinkets and potions, and it was magical. And there was these things called contact cards that you could get. And while I was in there, like supermarkets have Hello Magazine and gum, chewing gum as you're leaving the checkout to make through. In the Bodhi Tree, there was contact cards and gemstones. So I just threw a pack of contact cards in the bag. Off I went, got my contact cards out, and was just like, okay, I'm open. Come see me. If this exists, come visit me. And not so long after that, I was with a girl, and it's, over 18 years ago, because I've been with my wife for 18 years. I was with a girl on a sun lounger, and the girl's next to me, and it's 10:30 at night, and it's warm, but obviously it's 10:30, so it's dark, and we're both looking up at the stars. And then over the top, and I have to qualify this with completely sober, which is something that you have to throw in, because I've never seen anything like this when I wasn't completely sober, so I'm completely sober, and I'm looking up at the stars, and then all of a sudden, I would say the size of 2 penalty box area, if you put a penalty box area for footy pitch and then double it, about that size, slowly came over the top of our head, and it was square, matte black underneath. And can you remember Artexin from the 80s, Mick? Yeah. It weirdly was matte black and had this kind of Artexin feel underneath it. And it had another weird one. Remember the yellow and black safety things from the Hacienda?
Yeah, the Hazard.
Yeah, it had that underneath.
Wow.
Yeah, like half of the underneath had the Hazard yellow and black thing. And it came in, and I'm guessing it came in at anything from 10 to 15 miles an hour.
Was it silent?
Completely silent. And I could have hit it with a good throw with a golf ball or a tennis ball. It was that low, and it just came in over the palm trees, and then off it went. And the girl I was with just turned to me and went, "What the F was that?"
As you do.
As you do. So that's kind of like, and I think because we've been so embarrassed and browbeaten and accused of lunacy and madness, the first thing I did was try to explain it away as not being little green men from Alpha Centauri,
How long before you told anybody about it?
Well, I'm not scared to appear like a lunatic to the uninitiated, to be honest with you. So, it's but the reason why I was saying, because I have been publicly shamed for having a belief in whatever this may or may not be. I also have a belief that it might be my own psychosis. I might be creating this myself. You know, I want to find out either way. I'd rather it be the magical version because I'm a child. But you know, I'm open to the possibility that this is a creation of my own mind. That being said, it's a very powerful mind to have somebody else, you know, experience it at the same time as me.
Well, you know, if it's a creation of your mind, Rob, your own mind, then there's a lot of people having these same creations, aren't they? I'm not saying that in some instances that's not what it is, but like you've just said, you've given the example. She saw it as well, didn't she? You know, it's fascinating.
So that was like, you know, the greatest hit of the biggest one. Second one, if you don't mind me telling you this other story. So we went to James Gilliland's ranch in Washington.
I've seen that. I've seen it. In fact, Danny Dye went there, didn't he? He did a documentary about going there. But is that the one, the mountain?
Yeah, there's the Saint Helens or something in front of you, and there's weird stuff happening every night, and yeah, there's lights doing weird stuff, but you know, is that weird stuff paranormal in nature, or is there a
earthly explanation?
An army base or a navy base where they're trying out new technology that they may or may not have got, or not, or whatever they've created for themselves. And it was, you know, fascinating, but nothing I could point a finger to and go, they're here, you know. But there was lots of coincidences that happened there that were just striking. Please remind me of the coincidences after I finish this story, because the one coincidence just blew my mind. So we go there, and while we're there, me, Danny, Calvin, Rich, friends of ours, Mick, we wrote a song about alien abduction. Granted, not our best song, but still something we're fond of, and take it back to the house in LA and whittling lyrics down, you know, just having a whittle of the lyrics.
Is this the Arizona?
Yeah.
And, questions, so this is good.
Yeah, and I'm stood on the balcony overlooking the San Fernando Valley at my house, and the studio was in my bedroom at the time, and the lads are in there. I'm having a cig, and I put the song on, lads. So they put the song on, and I'm listening to the lyrics, thinking what we could change. And then a gold ball comes on in the sky, and I'm like, interesting, but you'll not get me, Venus. I know that. You know, because like the first thing you do, because you don't want to appear like a lunatic, is try to explain absolutely everything away. Because
rationalize it,
I've caught myself in, oh God, yeah, no, I was a bit stupid there in the past. So without jumping to conclusions, the conclusions that I want to jump to is the sane explanation. So this ball comes, and I'm like, yeah, not tricking me. Song ends, the ball flashes out, and it's gone. Put the song on again, lads. Song comes on, and the ball comes back, and I'm like, okay, now you've got my attention. Song ends, ball goes. And I'm like, lads, come and stand here on this balcony and look over there and press play, and this ball will appear. They press play, and the ball appears. And the lads are like, that's weird. And I'm like, yeah, it's just happened the last 2 times. Song ends, ball. I said, and now now at the end of the song, it'll flash out and go. And it did.
Yeah.
And they were like, no way, do it again. Ball comes on, ball disappears. Ida arrives, my wife, and I'm like, babe, come and stand on the balcony, watch this over there. When we press play, this gold ball will appear. And it did, and then it went. And I said, babe, this has happened 6 times now. And we all go back into the room to go, no way, to each other. And I would say the bedroom itself was probably about 25 feet wide, maybe longer. And through the door came this black strip. And I would say the black strip was about 3 feet off the ground. And it elongated from the door to the window at the other end of the studio and then followed itself out. And we all went,
mental.
How many saw it?
Danny, Calvin, Ida, me.
Wow. It is a wow moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's massive. That's mega. I remember you telling me that ages ago. And then I mentioned it to Kelvin, and he was like, yeah, like trying to go back over the story. But obviously, you all saw the same thing. You weren't imagining it.
Well, you know, the thing with the whatever it was over my head while I was on the sun lounges with the girl, you know, I've tried to explain that away. And, you know, maybe I've imagined a bigger craft than it actually was. And maybe it was the undercarriage of one of those Goodyear air blimps that they have over there. Maybe it was that. I don't think so. The even stranger, no, well, not even stranger than the craft itself, was the fact of where we were. Because we were at the Beverly Hills Hotel, which is in a very highly populated, densely populated place in the middle of Beverly Hills. You know, it's on Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I saw it, then thousands of other people must have seen it, unless thousands of other people weren't looking up at the time. But, yeah, it's strange to think that we were the only two that saw that thing that night.
Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely. What about coincidence?
The coincidence.
Yeah.
And this is more tenuous than anything, but I'll tell you the story because
then we want to get to Mick's EMF meter. If
sorry, Mick,
coincidence, Rob. Let's do it.
I feel as though I must qualify to be part of the community, you know. So the coincidence, which is more tenuous than anything, I understand. But it makes me smile. So James Gilliland at his ranch has this little room that people can stay in, and everybody that's been there, that's finished with the books that they're reading, leaves books. And there is a little bookshelf, probably 4 shelves, densely packed with books that would pique our interest.
Yeah.
Maybe 100 books or so. And graphic, but I was going to the loo. And in my head, I thought to myself, I'm going to put my hand along these books and I'm going to stop at one that I'm supposed to read. I'm not going to look, stop at one I'm supposed to read, pick it out, stick my finger in the book, go to the loo, open it up, and whatever page it's on, I'm supposed to read that. That's what I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah.
And I like playing these games every now and again. So I don't look, I get the book, bearing in mind I'm in Washington, and I get the book, go to the loo, finger in the page, open it up, and I open it up on a chapter at the start, and it's Underground Cities of Stoke-on-Trent.
No way.
Wow.
Blew my mind. The rest of the book was about South America.
No.
Yeah, the only chapter that wasn't about South America was this Underground Cities of Stoke-on-Trent that I've never heard of before that or since.
That is crazy.
That
is a major coincidence.
Major coincidence. Yeah. I loved it. Loved it.
It's incredible. Did it make you look into it more?
It did at the time. We are now talking maybe 16 years ago, and there's only so much information that you can retain on stuff.
Yeah.
I've since forgotten. I'm now reminded to go and have another look, because at some point, maybe I will go and search of that door.
Yeah. All good. So I don't know whether Mick's told you about these EMF meter readings that myself and Mick got. What, 2022? What, 21?
Yeah. It was the last time I came to Bempton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The weird thing, and I've told you this story, I've not even told my missus this story. I watched the documentary. I'm like you, Rob. I'm always looking at stuff online, watching, videos, YouTube. I live on YouTube. So I watched a thing on Lou Elizondo was talking about Skinwalker Ranch, and he was saying one of the things about going to that particular place was you humble yourself. You say a little prayer and your intent of going there. So I just thought, well, I've been to Bempton a few times and I'm like kryptonite. Nothing happens to me. So I thought, right, I'm going to do this little thing. So I did a quiet room. I was actually in this room, did a little prayer, showed my intent in my head, went to bed that night. I'm at that age now where I have to get up in the middle of the night to go for a wee. So off I walk to the toilet, and on the right-hand side is the room my daughter stays in, which she wasn't there that day, and the door was open. And as clear as anything, I heard a growl in my right ear, which obviously I thought, God, what is that? But by which time I got to the bathroom and then did what I had to do, came back and attentively shut the door, like whatever was in there wasn't going to get me, got back into bed. The next morning we travelled to Flamborough. First thing I do, I normally meet Paul on a Friday night, and I always say to Paul, I'll meet you on a Friday. So at least have the weekend then with the missus. So we go up that evening, and it's quiet. There's no one there. We walk down to the RSPB platform, very, very quiet. Even the seabirds were quiet. And then we walked to the second platform, and Paul had got an EMF meter, which you'd use a few times, haven't you, Paul? But you
little to no success. No success with it at all. And he suggested we use it.
So I said, look, let's leave the equipment, leave everything here, because Paul's got loads of cameras and video stuff. Let's leave it on the platform. There was no one there. It was all safe. And we walked towards, they call it the gate post with no gate, because that's where this so-called werewolf appeared to the two paras. So we were walking along there, and this thing starts going off. And I said to Paul, ask it some questions. And the video is on Truth Proof, Rob. You can check it out. But the everything Paul asked, it engaged with.
You were responding. It was just unbelievable.
Well, you can tell the rest, Paul.
Well, no, it were responding. I mean, we've not had it like that before or since. And I'm so pleased Mick said, let's film this. So, Mick's filming it, and he says, ask it some questions. Asked it a question, it's redlining this thing, not just flickering, it's redlining and staying there, weren't it, Mick? And then I said, can you stop? Just stopped.
You'd kill it straight away. There's nothing there. There's a 400-foot drop cliff, a fence, and a field. Wow. There's no. I'm a good 8 foot away from Paul, and I've got a torch on him with my phone, Ghostbusters style. and then we'd walk a little bit, and I'd say, don't say nothing, and then he'd go, do you live here? Are you from this area? Were you on the hill? And it would certain things he wouldn't answer. Obviously, he didn't. It was.
But when I asked it to stop, I think there's a pause. You can see it on Truth Proof channel. Well, this little bit we've put on. There's a pause. It's not been edited, so it's not been made to fit. And I said, left it for say 5-10 seconds. Says, can you start again? Bosh! It just did it again.
Have you got one of those voice box things too? Those.
We've tried them, Rob, but once again, little to no success. But
that night, and I think it just shouts out random things. I don't think it's any sort of
They're
substance.
loaded, aren't they, Mick? I don't know whether they're actually genuine. I mean, there might be something that's genuine.
You know what? I downloaded it years ago, messing around. We'd gone somewhere, and it goes demon. And
Really?
It will go demon, and it just says random things.
So you think that particular app is loaded with?
I'm not saying it is, but I think that's probably something.
I think there's a potential for them to be loaded with random words,
certain things, and then there's nothing there. It will say "girl," "dead," and it just
No.
It's like an app. Just keep shouting.
Yeah. Bad things.
Sorry.
So bad things. Ooh.
Yeah, it's like if you're on a ghost hunt, it just
Yeah. I did. I tell you my story from 3 nights ago, and with anybody that has a bent for the spooky, which I obviously do, this was like, So, Mick, I'm of that age where now I'm probably going to the loo 5 times a night, and it was 4:15. Go to the loo, sat down, shower right in front of me. Shower turns itself on.
Is this in the house you're living in now?
Yeah. This is 3 nights ago.
Wow.
And the shower comes on and I'm disorientated, and the wife's also got a shower. I've got my bathroom, and then she's got her bathroom, and I think it's coming from her bathroom, and I'm like, instantly I'm like, oh God, I could do without this. This is weird. And then I sort of like clear my eyes and I look, and the shower's right in front of me, and it's my shower and it's on. And I'm instantly trying to gather myself as not to be too spooked or too scared. And then I open the shower and I go to turn it back off, and it's already turned off. There's nothing to turn because it's off. So
was it wet in there? Was the shower actually on?
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, the shower's on. Yeah. So I'm my hand is now wet. My arm is wet because the shower's on. Yeah. Try to turn it off. And then I turn it off to turn it on. No, I turn it on to turn it off. And it still doesn't stop. And in the end, I was just like, fuck it, leave it.
Yeah, leave it.
Ecologically, there's nothing I can do about it because it's just doing it itself.
So was it on next day?
You what, mate?
Was it on next day?
So I then go to bed, wake up the next day, tell the wife about it, and and the next night I managed to sleep through the night. And the wife wakes up and she goes, 4:15, the shower came on again, and then last night before I go to bed, kind of got like grumpy about it, because it's like, well, if you're going to do something,
do it. Yeah,
turning a shower on is a bit crap. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
you brought it on now.
Well, yeah, but for me, I'm trying to overcome the trauma that I had as a kid. Yeah. It's like I don't want to be the fearful 12-year-old scared to go to the loo because of what's on the landing.
Yeah.
It's like I'm a dad now with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm just trying to attack it from a different angle until something happens that freaks me out so much that I sell the house.
Mm. Well, I don't think you're going to do that.
I don't even remember, Rob. It was a while ago now. Just before lockdown, I will speak to you. And I sent you a video of the UFO I filmed at the back of this house.
Yeah. I do, yeah.
And I was sat in the garden. It was a really hot summer's night. I was sat in the garden, and it's weirdly enough, there's not a lot of light pollution around here, even though I'm in the middle of Harts Hill. And I get sent quite a lot of music. My daughter had gone to bed, and she was staying with me that weekend. And I just thought, I was staying, just sitting in the garden. So I put my headphones on, laptop, just listening to music that people had sent me. And just out the corner of my eye, I just saw, clear as anything, traveling quite quickly, a really bright star and a really dull star, but smaller next to it. And they stopped instantly. And of course, from looking at it, so I dropped my laptop. I thought, because obviously I'm getting blinded by the screen, and I'm watching this there, and then the little star just shot off to the east. I got out my phone, I got my compass, so I knew exactly where it had gone. And then I watched this really bright light start zigzagging, and that's when I filmed it. But when you zoom in on it, you can see it oscillating. And I'll show you, yeah, just like the old Bob Lazar video, you know, from back in the 80s. And God, that's amazing. And then not long ago, last year, Paul had recommended me getting this like night vision camera.
Psionics,
yeah. So I was dead chuffed with this new camera. And I've got some friends, we've been to the local pub here. I said, come back, you've got to check out this night vision camera I've got. So me and my friend Rebecca, we were in the garden, and she got the camera, and I'm stood next to her, and I said, look how amazing the stars look. And as clear as anything, we saw this dumbbell UFO come straight over the house. And it just looked like a big dumbbell.
Wow.
And we both said instantly, you know, did you see that? And we were like, did you see it? I mean, like one of that, you know, when you both go trying to like confirm it. Yeah, I saw it. What did you see? What did you see? She goes, it looked like a weight. I said, yeah, a dumbbell.
Yeah. So how exciting!
And Stoke-on-Trent, the centre of the UFO, community.
Well, I sometimes think, and I try to separate narcissism and ego, unsuccessfully a lot of the time. But there's lots of different theories that we all have about lots of things to do with this stuff. But I wonder, that thing that came over across my head with the girl and the thing and the ball, I often wonder if I'm supposed to see it because of my public platform. Am I supposed to see this so I do exactly this?
Yeah.
Well, do you think it's influenced your music in any way, such as the Arizona lyrics, the song that you were playing, and you saw the gold light? Did it influence it at all?
Listen, if it wasn't for the paranormal, I wouldn't have a solo career. Angels is about angels.
Mm. Yeah.
Good
there
point.
You go. Yeah.
I remember at the time, Rob, you said to me, do you think you're calling them? And I just thought, what do you mean, calling them? But then it's like you go out and I didn't have, when I was listening to the music, I wasn't purposely looking for a UFO. But when we got the camera out, we were looking for things, and then it just presented itself. So who knows?
There is, the people that are not into this stuff, like really not into this stuff. And people will ask me about these things in interviews, and then I'll quite often be with people that are diametrically opposed to, this is lunacy to them.
Yeah.
It's really effing rude.
Mm. Do you find yourself trying to convince them? Do you find yourself trying to convince them?
Not at all.
No.
I did at the start, decades ago. Now I don't give a shit whether they believe it or not. It doesn't need them to believe it. But what I do care about is don't belittle my experiences. It's like I'm trying to do this with an air of skepticism myself. I obviously lead towards it more being a reality than I do with skepticism. But don't don't tell me I didn't see that thing above my head.
Yeah.
You know, don't tell me that didn't exist. I'm not telling you it's little green men. It could be exotic technology that we're not supposed to see, you know, and I did. But don't tell me I didn't see it, because now you're encroaching on, you know, me as a man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you make a great point, and it's brilliant that you leave it so open that you're not saying, "Oh, this is from outer space." It could be some kind of exotic science that we don't understand. So, I mean, that's grounding us all, isn't it?
Well, sorry, Paul. Yeah, no, because like at the beginning of this, growing up as a kid, you know, the imagination is huge, and all of this stuff as a kid was definitely happening.
Yeah,
definitely part of something that's a secret that we don't know about, we don't understand. As an adult, I would say 15 to 20 years ago, and the sort of the internet happening and all sorts of information coming out and red pilled, whatever you want to call it, you have to claw yourself back from everything that is out there, because everything, you know, everything 20 years ago to me online was true.
Yeah.
Now, as a responsible adult, I'm just trying to pedal my way backwards to go, okay, what actually is this? Is this, or is this not is?
Yeah.
I agree. You understand exactly what I'm saying. Right now, I am way more skeptical than I was when I was a kid, or
I'm the same, mate. I've got a bullshit meter, and I've got a filter as well. And I'll say to Paul, I don't buy into that. It's just something that just feels off. Do you remember it was a while ago now when you told me about you stayed in Dan Aykroyd's house and the stuff that happened there?
Yeah, but you see, I was thinking about the Dan Aykroyd episode, his house, before I came on here, because it's another tenuous thing. But I'll throw this turnip onto the pile too, because you know, it's worth it just as a story.
Yeah.
But you know, the onus for me, as somebody that's trying to be skeptical, isn't the fact that because of this things exist. So I rented Dan Aykroyd's house as soon as I got to Los Angeles, and 24 years ago. And when I got there, I walked through the door and it was instantly on me. It was like, oh God, whatever those feelings were when you were a kid that exist in some places and don't in others, it definitely instantly was like, this place is creepy, you know? And I go upstairs and I'm sat on the bed, and I was newly sober, and I was trying to attack things in a different way. You know, I was trying to be a grown up, and I sat down on the bed and instantly, right out loud, right, I know you're here, or I feel as though you're here. My name's Rob. I'm from England. I'm newly sober. I'm trying to get my life together. I'm fearful of whatever it is that you are. I'll try and stay out of your way if you can please stay out of my way. And I felt as though I was heard. I then go downstairs, and my friend at the time, who was living in the other room, he comes down and he's white as a ghost, and he's got his towel on. He was just in the shower, and he goes, I just had a conversation with somebody that wasn't there.
Oh God!
And like at the exact same time.
Yeah. Coincidence again.
So it turns out that the house itself, Mama Cash used to live in it, from the Mamas and the Poppers.
Yeah.
And Ringo Starr used to live in it. And so we have that experience. I bought a wolf, and Sid was crated at the time, puppy.
Yeah.
He's not with us anymore. and he was crated at the time at the side of my bed. And in the middle of the night, and I was like, oh, I've got to be a responsible owner and go and take him out for a pee. But I don't want to walk down them stairs because they're terrifying. And then, you know, there needs to be a responsible owner, overrid the fear. I go down the back stairs from the bedroom into this hallway, open the hallway door, go into the kitchen, place him outside. And all Sid wants to do is play. And I'm like, ugh.
God. Yeah.
I pick him up. I walk through the kitchen, close the corridor door, walk through the corridor, up the back steps, and put him down. And as soon as I put him down, he shoots downstairs again. And I'm like, ah! So I walk down the stairs to the corridor. I get to the corridor and I look down the corridor. There's no dog and the door is closed, which means the puppy opened the door, went to the other side, then closed the door.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't need this. This is not what I need. So I now go to open the door, fearful of what I'm going to see on the other side because something weird's just happened. And I open the door, and Sid is facing me, shivering, shaking. Like something's just happened to him that he really didn't like.
No.
So there was another night I was in bed, and the Sound of the 60s advert came on the TV. And whatever it was, you know, I think I might have got the decade wrong there, but you know, it was all of these old performances that you could buy on this compilation videos at the time, and all of a sudden, all the leaves are brown, right, and the room just goes, and it just felt like the energy in the room completely and utterly changed, and it was like it wasn't the air that was dragged out of the room. Something psychically, kinetically, whatever the right word is, disappeared from the room, and there was a silence that wasn't there before. And I'm like, So then one night I go out, come back from the club, and get out the car. Every single window and every single door, front door, side door, back door, other side door, was open at exactly the same angle. Every window was open at exactly the same angle too.
Yeah.
Nothing stolen.
Was this on the same day at that? But when the
No, this is over a period of time. The month I rented the house. No, nothing stolen. The only people that were in the house were in the car with me. Anyway, so there's all these particular emotions and feelings and, you know, thoughts about being at this place. Zach Starkey, Ringo's son, was in town because he was drumming for the Who. And my A&R guy knows Zach Starkey. And he said, do you want to meet Zach Starkey? And I said, yeah, I'd love to. I go down to meet Zach Starkey at a hotel, and we sat down on this sofa. And the first thing he says to me, he goes, I hear you were at the old house. He said, have you met the kids yet?
Oh, God.
And he was like, yeah, me and my sister used to play with them when we were kids.
It's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely.
So, you know, believe it or believe it not, this story ends with the removal people refusing to go back into the house because of the old lady sat in the chair.
Shit.
Really?
Yeah, so Dan Aykroyd wrote Ghostbusters in that house.
Okay,
You know, it's funny, I watched a documentary about Dan Aykroyd, and he mentions the house, and he mentions Mama Cass, and he recounts a story of a large lady getting into the bed with him and he said he froze, and when he plucked up enough courage to sort of push a leg out, there was no one there, and the weight of the mattress had been released.
Well, I wrote him a lengthy email about my experiences there, and not because I was angry, or not because, we could have been told about this at all. I just wanted to share these experiences with him because I know he has an interest in it, and maybe we could have had a back and forth about his experiences there too. Nothing came back, but I think there's probably a documentary for him, or at least a segment in his new TV show about his own house, But like I qualify that by saying, there's a lot of, apart from the thing that happened with Sid the dog, which was, explain that one away. That's the one. Everything else is, could be in my imagination. The windows and the doors could be somebody playing tricks on me. I know all of that. The lady in the chair could be, hearsay, whatever. The Sid the dog thing, that blew my mind.
There's a physical to it, though, isn't there? Regardless of what we think. On about Dan Aykroyd feeling the bed going down, the pressure, the windows and the doors all at the same angle. But let's assume, like you just said, it could be somebody just playing tricks. It seems a bit of a far-fetched one, really. But there's a physical. How's it open doors and leave all windows ajar, same angle? The dog can't open the door. So what's happening?
Well, but that's the trickster element to this whole phenomena, and the ability to be able to do the trickster thing without leaving any evidence is interesting in itself. And then to the people that don't have a belief or an understanding of this stuff, they'll be going, because it's made up, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's plausible. That's best get our answer that they can come up with, innit?
Well, yeah.
What about locations then? So areas we'll call of that they call of high strangeness, because I know you've been to Skinwalker. What did your view of it change after you'd been, or did you go with expectations and it lived up to them?
Well, first of all, I was just glad to bucket list tick Skinwalker. It's where we exist on these forums and on YouTubes and with like-minded people. It's an honor to be able to go and do something like that, to be invited to go and do it. And I suppose because of my platform and being a celebrity, membership has its privileges, and I'm honored that I was allowed to go. On my way there, I'm with Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Mark Allen from ATS, and for it in the 90s, I got to hang out with the Liverpool squad, and that was an honor and a thrill that I got to see behind the scenes. And now, as an older guy, I get to hang out with people like George and Jeremy, and that's the same sort of thrill for me that getting to hang out with professional footballers. Is like I have friends that are on the front line, and that's really cool. So we all go together and we get to hang out with it, and that's a treat. And then what I did notice straight away, the land didn't scare me at all. The homesteads gave me the creeps. So, the prefabricated houses, when I was in there, I was like, this is, I'm glad there is several other people with me in this room. I wouldn't like to be in here by myself.
Okay.
And as time slowly passed over the day or so that we were there, I got less and less scared about the land. It didn't feel like a wolf man was going to come through a tunnel and kidnap me while I was there. And I sort of got a bit lackadaisical about the process and just happy to be on a camping trip with other people that are interested in this stuff. So much so that as we're leaving for the final time, I get in the car with Jeremy and I go, do you know what? I really love that. It was a load of fun. I'm glad we did it. But I'm really glad, to be honest with you, that nothing happened, because I don't want hitchhikers. I don't want to take anything home with me. And it was just then Neil, my security, who's not, he's been in the forces and not accustomed to speculation or making things up. He went, well, actually, Rob. And I'm like, oh, God. In Homestead, when Jeremy, or I can't remember, it was Jeremy or me, went to the loo, apparently he came out of the loo and Neil's looking at him, and behind him was an 8-foot black mist in the shape of, and he said I didn't mention it because I didn't want to scare anybody, but something did happen. And on the way back to the motel, I'm like, Jeremy, I'm not gay, but can I sleep in your room tonight? But we were both. It was interesting because Jeremy was terrified too.
Yeah. This is the guy that you told to tell me the story when we met, isn't it?
Neil?
It was.
Yeah.
That's right. But, well, thanks for sharing.
Which homestead was it, Rob? Do you remember?
I guess it's the one in all the documentaries where they keep all the equipment to.
Oh right, okay, yeah, the command center.
Yeah, the command center. Yeah.
So if you could go, sorry, mate, go on.
No, it's a fascinating place, and I'm forever typing in Skinwalker Ranch onto Google searches, various things. It is an interesting place.
So if you could go anywhere in the world then, to both of you, an area of high strangeness, where would it be then? Is anywhere on your bucket list still? And I don't mean Bempton, because I'm always up there, because Mick's visited it loads of times.
No, I want to and I will come to Bempton, but I wish I had there's places in Peru that I wish I could just step out of one door and walk into Peru without actually getting on a bloody plane and standing in front of something for about 5 minutes and go, oh, well, nothing happened. It's a long way to go for nothing to happen.
Yeah. Weirdly enough, we were talking about Peru the other day. I was watching a thing about the face peelers in the Peruvian, the Amazon jungle, the Peruvian basin. And that's fascinating. And all the footage. The guy, I can't remember, what's the guy called, Paul? I remember I'd sent you his link.
You did send me a link, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but he's one of the few people that's been into this part of the tribes people, aren't they, that are experiencing it? Am I right?
Yeah. So there's not. I've got 4 kids. It would seem that none of them are experiencing the same sort of phenomena that I experienced at their age. And they would tell me, "Daddy, I'm scared of blah blah," But yeah, there's one thing that did happen when I was a kid that sticks out. Was I was at my Auntie Joe's, and there was a ghetto blaster, and I was in the house by myself for some reason, or in a room by myself, and it worked even though it wasn't plugged into the wall and there was no batteries. I remember thinking, and I found Auntie Joe's house to be an odd place.
Yeah,
and I remember, I just remember thinking, that's super strange.
How could that happen? And Rob, we talk about not Wilsthorpe, the Hummunby incident, and you've heard me on about that, haven't you? And you and Mick have spoke about it. And the guys at that workshop in the little village of Hummunby, when all that strange activity were taking place in 1998, talk about the power trip into the unit and the radio still playing with no power attached, so it's similarities, aren't there,
Yeah.
and 4 girls we've got, and I've written the book Night People, and for the most part, everything's been okay with girls. No experiences to talk of, and Gemma had none. And I know we spoke about Gemma, but we were on the cliff tops back in 2020. Saw a square of light open up on cliff tops, and it touches on Mick's growl. Because I'd forgot you told me about that growl, Mick, before you came there. And Gemma said that night when she went home, and I didn't see this square of light, Gemma saw it with a guy called Bob Brown who was with us. She sat watching TV, little snug room. I think Sylvester Stallone film were on, not that it matters, over the top. She says, and behind me there's a brick wall. She says, and Dad, I thought there were thunder. And I turned television down and there were a growling at the back of me. So you're talking about hitchhikers and attachment. I can't be certain, can I? How can we be? But I'm sure something like that had sort of linked itself to Gemma as we left those cliff tops that night. I don't know, but I'd forgot about Mick talking about the growl.
Well, I also will say this. I think there's a possibility. You know, when people say he's got his demons, you know, I think there's a possibility that they are actually demons. You know, I'm not saying that is true. I'm just saying that, you know, I think I always used to feel with my depression and my anxiety that it wasn't mine. You know, I have a feeling that I'm obviously capable of understanding that this might be nonsense and I might have made it up. You know, that I have a feeling that all the drugs I took lowered my energies psychically, and I may have had hitchhikers come in. And, you know, I think that may be a reality, you know. Definitely feels like it.
Yeah. So, and well, jumping from that then, Rob, do you think we'll ever get what people are talking about as regards disclosure? Or have we already got it?
I think that, as ever, which is remarkable and frustrating and beautiful as this whole mess is, you know, it's a wonderful confusion that is, you know, the ball is further down the field than it was.
Yeah.
You know, it is now in a place where the ball is in play. The ball wasn't in play. Whether we have an understanding of whether this does or doesn't exist in my lifetime, I really don't know. But we needed that piece of chocolate because, you know, there's definitely paranormal fatigue. You know, for you know, there's not a lot of new things that happen now on YouTube that I still do look at. There's not a lot of interviews or information that comes along that fascinates me in the way that it once did. I don't know whether that is because now I'm a dad of 4 kids. I have other things to take my interest. But you say, you know, has disclosure happened?
You know,
I get it. It's like I am less inclined to believe my own thoughts than I've ever been. That doesn't mean that I don't believe my own thoughts, you know. And the whole David Grush thing is absolutely amazing. And, you know, going to Congress or wherever it was in America is as big or bigger than the old Washington Press Club in 2001 or 2002, whenever it was. So, yeah, it's massive. Things have gone a bit quiet in the last.
Do you know what though? I mean, you touched on Jeremy and George Knapp. I mean, I think what Jeremy's doing, he's really pioneering and pushing it, and he's really like nudging, you know, the establishment. Whether or not he's a bit of a thorn in their side, I don't know. But I mean, he's really pushing it a lot more than anyone that's ever done before.
Do you know what? Do you know what's the imbecilic nature of the UFO community? The cutting and the dragging down and the hatred and the poo-pooing and the skepticism of anything that comes forward. It's a wonder that anything gets done or anything gets said by anybody, because absolutely it would seem that a majority of the peoples in the UFO community are just complete and utter haters that are sat behind a computer typing words with absolute authority about something that they haven't done themselves. They can't be asked to, other than eviscerate whoever it is that are coming forward. I'll speak to you, you typewriting warriors. You're doing absolutely nothing other than being harmful and hurtful, and it says more about you than it does about anybody that sits in front of one of these cameras. Get one of these cameras and talk about it if you're that brave.
You know, John, the weird thing is, it's funny you say that, because I remember it was a while ago now, George Knapp did an interview and they were talking about Bob Bigelow, and he gave and a couple of other establishments of over $1 million to come up with this committee that would really go to task on the UFO subject. They argued that much between them. It didn't happen. The $1 million went, and everyone talks about this disinformation. The UFO community do more disinformation between themselves than anyone. The government don't have to do anything; they just do it on their own. There
is a. You can be skeptic and kind.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what it is about this subject that inflames the people so much that are really into it, but it does.
Skeptic and kind. It's so right, and you don't see it often, do you? We took a guy with us called Lee Haywood, brilliant guy, very skeptical, and he came to tell me what I was seeing and explain that in conventional terms, something land-based or military. He came away thinking different, but I don't mind that. You know, it's good if you've got somebody who's going to give you constructive kind of advice and criticism. But, well, like you've just said, on the negative side of it, there's loads of it. And without naming any UFO organization, a lot of times that everything's pigeonholed into little boxes. So let's talk the cryptid community, for instance. The guy was looking for this undiscovered hominid that's running around the forests of America and the woodlands. And in with this incredible report somebody gives him, there's a paragraph that says, there's some strange lights as well. We saw some strange... We better omit that because it's not fitting in with the narrative of what I want that to be. And you see it with UFOs, you see it with everything. And I think there's a bleed through into it all, personally.
Well, I think everybody wants to, I say everybody, a great deal of people want to own the narrative on what they absolutely and utterly think this is.
Yeah.
You know, and they also want to own the narrative on what they absolutely and utterly believe it not to be. You know, none of us know shit. None of us. You know, and I read a load of comments about people talking in general, and lots of people in comment sections talk with absolute authority.
Yeah, conviction
on what this is and what this isn't.
Yeah.
And it makes me angry. It's like, well, I've read and seen as much as you, and you know, I know nothing.
Absolutely.
What I think I've seen, and this is interesting for me, everything is on the table. You know, it doesn't mean that I believe in anything. It just means that everything is on the table. You know, like flat earth arrives. Obviously, you're sort of like, oh, ridiculous. But for me, I go, okay, let's have a look at this. I'm not in it. I'm not of it. I'm not of its belief. But my instant reaction isn't to throw it out because it sounds ridiculous. And I use that particular subject as an extreme. But for me, if anything is said, everything is on the table.
Great attitude to take. What about you, Mick? Well, Mick, how can we break then the stigma that's attached to the subject?
I'll just stay in my lane, and I'll just do my own thing. And
Sorry, Mick. I don't care about the stigma unless it infringes physically on me and my space.
Yeah.
You know, so I've had two things happen I'm sorry, I've just jumped in over you, Mick. But I'm kind of passionate about this too. So I've had two things happen to me just recently with people, that have sort of poo-pooed and talked down to me about this whole thing. That bothers me. Because I don't, it's like, sorry, Mick.
I don't give a rat's ass what anyone thinks about me, really, what I believe in.
Yeah, but like, okay, so you're in Stoke or wherever you are, and somebody brings it up outside of you, which normally happens. Mick, you did and you go, yeah, well, I saw a dumbbell. The guy next to you goes, all right, let's take away Mick's drink. He's gone mental. That bothers you. It must do, because it bothers me.
Yeah. I just think, well, look, it happened. That's it. And I don't need to justify it to anyone. I'll tell you as it. I'm very much in the train of thought of Paul. This is what happened. I'm not going to elaborate anymore. I didn't see any spinning lights. I didn't see any little alien waving at me. I just saw. That's all I saw, and that's it. And I'll just, I'll stick to my own beliefs. I mean, like the people that are close to me, they know what I'm into this kind of thing. But it's not something we talk about all the time. It's just me in my little world. But 1 a.m. with my headphones and laptop, I'm in my own little bubble.
Okay, so here's a text I've just got through. Rob, have the mega global expert on UFOs coming dinner at mine tonight. Gives me the address. If by some wild chance you are here, you must come. Super small group. That's somebody that's not into UFOs. I never get any text like that.
No,
nobody UFOs me. So that's a nice coincidence that we're talking about this. Then this happens.
That's the universe telling you. That's you running your finger along the books again. Maybe you should go.
Maybe I should. If the long haired general will let me, the wife.
So, how are we doing for time, guys?
We need to wrap if that's okay.
Yeah, I kind of thought we were getting about there. Robbie, Mick, thank you so much for just...
Before you wind up, sorry, Paul, before you wind up, I'll say this about you, Paul. Is the word orientation, the way you are able to process this information and disseminate. What's the word? Dissect it and disseminate it and regurgitate it. There is an artistry to what you do, Paul, which is why I'm here today. Which is, I found you a long time ago on YouTube. I find the way that your writing is incredible. You're an artist, and your voice is really important in this whole mess and confusion of whatever this is and whatever this isn't. And I just want to thank you and honor you because what you do, there's an artistry to it and a heart and a compassion. And thank you.
Thank you for saying that. Honestly, it means a lot, Rob. Thank you. And Mick, thank you.
No problem, mate. Anytime.
Right. We'll end it.
Peace be with you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.